Texans sound off. Hour number 3, a wild and crazy day underway. We got a lot to discuss with all of you. If you've just gotten in your car, buckle up. You probably have no idea what has happened in the first 2 hours of the program so far. Actually, breaking news again during the commercial break. The Fed has raised interest rates another 1/4 point. This was expected, but this brings the federal interest rate level to a 22-year high. Thank you, Joe Biden, as the battle to try and decrease inflation is ongoing. According to the Fed, this will make, in theory, all borrowing costs more expensive. The hope is that this will be the last Fed raise, and as I am looking right now, Buck, it appears that this statement by the Fed and the action has basically totally unmoved the markets. In other words, this was the expected outcome, and there does not seem to be a move occurring very substantial to one direction or the other. I would say one minor negative that will come out of this is that there was some hope the Fed might indicate, hey, we expect this to be our last raise of the interest rate. There has not been that statement, so the possibility of continuing to raise interest rates is still out there as a part of future probability and or discussion. All right, that just happened. Now, what has happened in the first 2 hours? And Buck, you're shaking your head because even trying to explain this is wild. If you're listening on the podcast, enjoy. By the way, it's going to be an hour-long interview I did with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on the podcast, exclusive. Go sign up for Play and Buck. You'll be able to listen to that. He was in Nashville. I talked with him yesterday, so if you are at all interested in that, one of many reasons Buck does a ton of interviews on that are podcast unique. We've got the Tudor Dixon. I believe we're going to be announcing a couple of additional people that are also a part of the podcast network. In other words, as many of you are out there traveling for the summer holiday season and you want things to listen to, certainly we love you guys listening to the podcast and listening on the iHeartRadio app and all of our fantastic affiliates out there. But if you subscribe to the podcast, there are things that you truly cannot find anywhere else, so you can get even more of us. And if you are listening to the podcast, in those first couple of hours, you will hear a pretty wild first couple of hours that includes, Buck, the expectation that the Hunter Biden plea agreement had fallen apart. Then the report that the Hunter Biden plea agreement was back on. And then finally, a assertion that the Hunter Biden plea agreement had in fact fallen apart, and that there had been a not guilty plea entered by Hunter Biden, and that today's court hearing, which was expected by most to be a rubber stamping of the sweetheart deal that Hunter Biden had worked out with Joe Biden's Department of Justice, it was considered to be unacceptable by the judge in this case. We've been telling you for weeks, the law supported her not accepting this plea, and at least for now, she has said, I cannot in good conscience accept this plea. Credit to her so far.
So I said it was like you were watching it as though it was the Kentucky Derby and you would bet all your money on one horse. And it was, there were really only 2 horses in the race. Plea deal goes through, plea deal doesn't. And it was a photo finish, and there were numerous changes here in what the reality was. I mean, I retreat back. The first thing I said when we came on the air was, well, it ain't over till it's over. We got to see what they end up doing here. So now they're going into another negotiating phase. Now, maybe Hunter and his defense team, and everything that former Governor Christie said in the last hour, I think really tracks, which is what should happen is there's a special counsel, which now means, there's a whole, now the special counsel could slow walk this, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get something here that really approximates justice, but, I mean, if you don't get a special counsel, which I still, now he thinks you will. Do you think that Merrick Garland will appoint? I do not believe Merrick Garland at this point will appoint a special counsel, but I think it's a coin. It's basically a coin flip proposition. It's a lot closer than it would have been before today, because this is a catastrophe legally for them.
Yeah, what I said on the show was I believed if this judge would do what she should do and reject the rubber stamp of this plea agreement, that everything would fall apart and that Merrick Garland would have to appoint a special counsel. Now, I think he will. And that's what Chris Christie just said. I encourage you guys to go listen. And I got to give Chris Christie a lot of credit. He wanted to come on and talk about his presidential campaign, but this news broke, and in real time, his background is probably the best, almost in the entire Republican Party, to discuss what just happened. And so he turned into an analyst breaking down the latest on that case. And he thinks that a special counsel is likely. Here's the challenge, and here's why the Hunter Biden fix could still be in, Buck. Even if a special counsel is appointed, first of all, who is it?
Who is it? What's the timeline? What's the final dispensation of it? Remember, there is a Biden special counsel. Now, you thought they were going to appoint one, and I was like, really? That Biden special counsel is doing nada, okay? It's a joke. It was just for the optics of it.
That is for people who've forgotten. In the Biden classified documents case, there is now a special counsel who has been appointed in the Biden classified document case. We've heard nothing about it.
And I can assure you, I mean, this I would place a considerable bet on. They're going to come out with, while it, was not good policy and he shouldn't have done it, he didn't mean to, and no harm, no foul for Joe Biden. For Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago documents, it's, to the gulag. But yeah, for Joe Biden, very different approach. And now I just think that what they're hoping happens here is that they're able to get some kind of a negotiation. Now, there's so many factors, because those U.S. attorneys, they look like buffoons. The ones that were trying to get this done and have this deal, and they look like total clowns. So who's going to be negotiating? What's their appetite for that negotiation going forward? The scrutiny on this is now much higher. People are going to be having to pay attention in the media that didn't want to pay attention really very much at all. Clay, this was going to be a news story. Yeah, there were people there. If this plea deal was accepted, it's done tomorrow. You won't hear about it on the New York Times. You won't hear about it at a CNN. It's finished, right? Now it's not finished. And now the story from the opposition, meaning people like us, to this Biden corruption nonsense is going to be, it was so bad that they couldn't even put the fix in on this one. I have to wonder, I mean, if they do a negotiation at this point that doesn't result in some kind of enhanced sanctions against Hunter, then it's really just turns into delay. But if they do something where all of a sudden Hunter faces, I don't know, I mean, the charges that he's up against right now, could he come back and face trial and face what the judge's decision may be on them? I mean, it feels like they have to get a deal, but they have no leverage for a deal.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. So, again, I always think you have to think about this when you have an adversarial system. There should be two sides pushing against each other. What I think we saw with this plea agreement was every side was pulling in favor of Hunter Biden, and that's how you end up with a sweetheart deal, right? The prosecutor was acting in concert in many ways with Hunter Biden's defense counsel to try to work this sweetheart deal. So I would say a special counsel is likely now. And the problem with the special counsel is it probably means there's no resolution until after the election, right? I think it would be hard, maybe if you could get a super active Republican prosecutor who was basically the Jack Smith of Hunter Biden, maybe they could move super fast and bring charges. But remember, a lot of people miss this with a special counsel. The special counsel doesn't have the authority to bring charges without the agreement of the attorney general. So a lot of times they say we're going to prosecute the son of the president. That's what has to actually happen in the end. So you could end up with a situation, though, if you had a special counsel, and this extends to 2024, but where if Biden were running, or even if another Democrat were running, where Hunter Biden going to jail or not is determined based on who wins the election, and Donald Trump going to jail or not is determined based on who wins the election. Which is why what you never want to create is a scenario where the election means that the family or the individual running for office either wins and he puts his political prisoners in prison, or he loses and he goes to prison. that's what we've now created, potentially, this dynamic. Now, it's fairer than, hey, nobody in my family faces consequences, and everybody on the opposing side has to go to prison, which is what Joe Biden's Department of Justice has created right now. But the challenge is the timing, and also now if you're representing Hunter Biden, let's pretend that you are Hunter Biden's defensive.
You wouldn't want to be his lawyer. This is not an easy spot to be in.
Not a good spot to be in, but also, Buck, you're in the position of, you feel like you negotiated a deal. If you're Hunter Biden's defense attorneys, and you in good faith said, hey, we're going to sign off on these 2 misdemeanors, and we're going to get protection for basically everything that Hunter did, we're not going to get prosecuted.
But what really happened here, Clay, there's the legal approach to it, which I think is what you're setting up, which is, hey, come on, this is the process working. Hunter Biden and his defense team had thought, and really had been given, a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Correct.
And the judge looked at this get-out-of-jail-free card and was like, this is too gross, I can't be a part of this. Now, maybe there's another get-out-of-jail-free card that comes up in a week or a month, or we'll have to see what the final resolution of this is. But they were negotiating with a prosecution where everybody knew, Joe Biden's son, this is the way we're going to handle this. This is the expectation. And it was the judge who stepped in. The prosecutors were going along with it.
Correct. And that's what I said. I give credit to this judge, because I've been calling her out for a month. Go back and listen to the transcripts, that the evidence in the law was clear, that she couldn't accept this. She didn't, which took some spine. Now, if you're the DA, right, if you're the prosecutor, you have to get more from Hunter Biden in order to get some kind of plea agreement. But, because you could say in good faith, hey, the judge wouldn't sign off on this, we need to have something more on your side in order to agree to this. And then the Biden people in the defense side can say, wait a minute, you told us this was the deal, now you want us to come back and give more, which is why I think the special counsel gets appointed. And if you're Merrick Garland, I mean, this dude, I've been saying for a long time, I think is a sham. I think he deserves to be impeached. The only reason I don't think you should focus on impeaching Merrick Garland, candidly, is because I think Joe Biden has done more, and he is Merrick Garland's boss.
Attorney generals are expendable politically. I mean, that's not going to stop anything or change anything. I think under the Biden regime, we'll just get some other crony in there. So I agree. I think you got to go right to the top with the Biden impeachment. But on this with Hunter, I do think there's still maybe a possibility here that what they do is they say, okay, well, we'll also take a plea on the FARA charge. I don't even know if that could work out, because they haven't brought that indictment yet. I don't know if they just go back and say, can we just do the original deal, even if there's no immunity for the additional stuff? I mean, that's how the negotiation would have to look at this point. But like I said, they're not in a position where they think that they can probably get quite the same thing that they got before, right? I mean, that was the best deal in the history of our legal system for anybody, in living memory. That's probably off the table now. But is there still a scaled down, Hunter gets to skate pretty much scot-free? I think that's possible. I will have to see.
And here's a couple of other things too, Buck. By the way, Wall Street Journal just arrived alert. Here's their headline. In a stunning reversal, Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty to tax charges after a judge said she wasn't prepared to sign off on a planned plea deal. You can pull up, we'll look at, I'm just kind of curious how this is playing in the CNN, MSNBC world. The headline of the New York Times, to their credit, #1 story, live right at the top, judge puts Hunter Biden plea on hold after questions on deal's scope. And then there's a quote from somebody inside the courtroom. Judge Mary Ellen Noriega repeatedly, at times angrily, said she felt like she was being asked to rubber stamp an agreement she had, quote, serious concerns about.
This doesn't, just so everyone understands how obvious the corruption takes place. 97%, give or take, of federal criminal trials result in a plea agreement. We just had Chris Christie on before. He's a federal prosecutor. He was a U.S. attorney for 7 years. Never even heard of this.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't even know if you could find a situation where a deal is on, off. Certainly not a high-profile deal like this.
Never supposed to
in
happen.
federal court.
Yep.
But they pushed so much. They were so just greedy in their corruption, really. And Hunter, with his little get-out-of-jail-free card, was just such an unrepentant little slime ball that the judge was like, I'm sorry, guys. There are some limits. There are some limits to the scumminess that will be allowed in this courtroom. And you're right, credit to her. Oh, the pressure that's going to be on her now, Clay. Oh, if she has anything in her background, anything in her past, all of a sudden, MSNBC, you're going to see the full ferocity of the lib media going after this woman, her family, and everything else. Because as we know, Merrick Garland won't do, they can protest outside of her house. That's already been established with the Supreme Court justice.
I like that.
Do you think anybody's willing to protest over Hunter Biden?
This thing, I don't know, this thing is active. Yep, that's it. It's a cool shirt on here. Animals, they're just animals here. The rich. Especially people out in rural areas, they think they're all that. Yeah, they're all that. I'm supposed to be on the phone. Animals out here. Yeah, animals. Yep, there are animals out here. Don't know why. They're fucking animals. Oh, come on, let's see. Yeah. Hey, people, freaking animals here. There's my shorts too.
Salsa Festival. Visit SacramentoSalsaFestivals.com. At Simply Safe, we've designed award-winning home security with advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this 24/7 lifeguard protection, only from Simply Safe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Cattey O'Neill, she gives you the 411 from 4 to 7.
The KFPK Afternoon News with Cattey O'Neill on KFPK Sacramento News Radio, 93.1 FM, 1530 AM.
KFBK, Sacramento's news radio, everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Why is he showing like